right, Alex, I'm looking forward to interviewing you. So can you start by stating your full name, your affiliation with the Coolidge Foundation, and what you're doing right now for the camera?
I'm Alex Bavalsky. I'm a Coolidge Senator and currently a sophomore at Yale College.
So how did you first get involved with the Coolidge Foundation?
Yeah, I first got involved with the Coolidge Foundation when I read about the Coolidge Scholarship in a newsletter that my high school sent around, which included the Coolidge Scholarship among a number of other scholarships. And I thought it was fascinating because I'm familiar with foundations of presidents that are more well-known, better taught in schools, but I was not really that familiar with Calvin Coolidge. I knew he was somewhere in between like Lincoln and FDR in that vague range. But as I learned more and more about him from both the Coolidge Foundation website and also from my own research as part of the application process for the scholarship, reading the autobiography, reflecting on the autobiography through the essays and so on, I really got to know him better. So that's how I got involved.
So can you talk a little bit about the Coolidge Senators program?
Yeah, the Coolidge Senators program involves the top 100 applicants to the Coolidge Scholarship each year. And there are 2 summits that we go to. They're split into 2 weekends of about 50 senators each weekend, where we go to DC, we meet each other, and we visit the different institutions that make our nation's capital what it is, such as the White House, the Capitol building, of course, and the Supreme Court, different museums, and more recently the Coolidge House, which is, of course, I think an institution of our nation's capital, up and coming, nascent institution of our nation's capital. And yeah, so we participate in we hear from different speakers, from different former mayors and governors and current, from different trustees of the foundation that have a variety of experience in business and in government, and of course learn more about Calvin Coolidge and his legacy in American history.
And so getting to go through all these things, not alone, but with other senators, I'm sure is a major part of that. You mentioned the networks and the relationships. Can you talk a little bit more about the Coolidge Senator community overall and what that has been like to join that and reap the rewards of it? Yeah,
the Coolidge Foundation has established itself as what I think is an excellent arbiter of the top students in the country. And so the Coolidge Senator program has built itself up to include now well over 500 of these students that span now from the newest ones are high school seniors and going up to really recent graduates. And I've been involved both because many of them go to Yale, but also I see them frequently. I judged, in addition to my summit, I judged at the Coolidge Cup in Vermont, where I met you. And I'm here today at the Coolidge Centennial Conference, but I was also present at the Coolidge Reunion in 2021, the first Senators Alumni Reunion. So the frequency of these events, and also the fact that we're pretty well interconnected within our universities, respective universities, really gives a lot of opportunities to interact with the other Coolidge senators, but also we see each other I pass by Coolidge senators all the time in New Haven. I see them at the gala in New York every December, and we keep in touch. We still have group chats. We text, we call frequently. So I think it's a really wonderful community and one that I'm proud to be part of. Yeah.
So it's the centennial year of Coolidge's presidency. Can you talk a bit about what you most admire about Coolidge and maybe what he has most to tell the younger generations like the Coolidge senators?
Yeah, I think different people have touched on this, and this is something that I wrote in my Coolidge Scholarship application that I still find fascinating, and it's still hard to wrap my head around, which is Coolidge's humility, which is something I think we see very rarely nowadays, both in American politics, but also when we look at comparative politics around the world. It's very rare to find a president or a head of state of any kind who is, reticent in a way, reticent to continually run for office. We see that Coolidge only ran once. He only ran for president once. and the position was thrust upon him literally in the middle of the night, which I find fascinating. But also the fact that he said in 1928, I choose not to run. And the word choose, I think, is really the operative verb, because he could have chosen to run, and he could have very likely won a second term, but he chose to step down at the end of his term and to allow other leaders to take his position. And he was a public servant his whole life. And I think public service often in the 21st century is viewed as a path upward and upward and upward, and to maximize popularity, to maximize really the fruits of populism that we're seeing in the 21st century on all sides of the political spectrum. And Coolidge can teach the younger generation that that is not necessarily the way to go. That is not the best way to govern a country, and that is not the best example to set for future generations. And quite the contrary, the best example to set is to set a personal limit, a personal term limit, I would say, even if it's not mandated by law, because for many mayors and governors, it isn't mandated by law. And to say, no, at this time, I have served my city or my state or my community or my school board or my country to the extent of my ability, and it is time for others to take the mantle and to move my legacy forward. And I think that's something that Coolidge did fantastically.